I'm Nigel Stevenson. Well, for the next half hour, we'll be getting the first word on 2009 from an investment legend. And given the current state of the markets and the economy, you don't want to miss it. Jim Rogers not only lived through the 70s oil price shock, the crash of '87 and several recessions. He thrived through them. Well, let's get to the man himself. Jim Rogers joins us now from Miami. Mr. Rogers, thank you very much indeed for joining us once again on Bloomberg Television. I just said it in the introduction, you've seen recessions, slumps, crashes, you've thrived through them. How bad is it now?
It's amazing how old I am, isn't it? I hadn't thought about it that way. I've seen actually more than that. Well, this is going to be probably the worst since the Second World War as far as the American economy is concerned, and some of the, especially the UK, well, it won't be the worst since the Second World War for the UK, but it's going to be very bad for all of us.
People are talking about the D word, depression. From what you've just said, it doesn't sound it's going to be quite as bad as that.
Well, it could well be. As you remember, the Depression, 1929 was a stock market bubble which popped. We were going into a recession, and then the politicians around the world started making horrendous mistakes, and which turned it into a depression. It would have been just a normal recession otherwise, but the American politicians and then the European politicians, everybody got in the act, and that seems to be happening this time too, Mr. Stevenson. They're making a lot of mistakes.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're expecting some of the same. Are you planning for a worst-case scenario?
Well, I cannot tell you until I see how things unfold. Nobody knew in 1929 it was going to turn into the Depression. By 1931, some of the smart people had figured it out. These things unfold. I'll have to watch and see what happens. I'm certainly prepared for the worst, and if it happens, I hope I take the appropriate actions.
And given what you heard from the central bankers and from the politicians thus far, are you impressed or deeply unimpressed by what you've seen?
Well, I'm impressed, but very negatively impressed. It's astonishing how bad they're reacting this time. It is unfathomable to me what they're doing, and you would think that some of them would have read some history or interpreted history properly.
What about
Mr. Obama, our new president, Mr. Obama, has said, ran on a platform that he's going to do two things. He's going to tax capital. This is a period when the world is desperately short of capital. What a genius. And then he's going to protect America. Protectionism led to the Great Depression in the 1930s. So we've got a man now who says he's going to in favor of protectionism and taxing capital. If that happens, Mr. Stevenson, it's all over.
Is this going to therefore change the world economic order? You know, I'm obviously thinking of China here, for example.
Well, of course it is. Same thing happened in the 1930s. You know, in 1918, the UK was the richest, most powerful country in the world. By 1939, it was a shambles. There were exchange controls. The economy was a wreck. It was a horrible period. Same thing is in the process of happening with America. And if America continues to make mistakes, you're going to see that quicker transition.
You've now obviously famously turned your back on the United States, moving out to Singapore. What would it take, big picture, for you to come back to the US?
Well, I haven't turned my back on the U.S. I'm an American citizen. I'm sitting here in Miami. I mean, let's not get too carried away. I did move to Asia because I see enormous opportunities there, and I've got these two little girls that I want to grow up speaking Chinese and grow up knowing Asia as well as they know America. But yes, we have moved to Asia. What would it take me to come back to the U.S.? I don't know. I don't see anything that... I'm convinced that China is going to be the great country of the 21st century. I want to prepare my little girls. My little girls were born in 2003 and 2008. I don't see any way that America is going to become the great country in the 21st century again.